Hi, my name's Zena. I'm just a Swiftie with an English degree, and today I've wanted to come to you and talk to you about one of my absolute favorite Taylor Swift songs, which is Death by a Thousand Cuts. I think this song is really important, but imagine my surprise as I dug into the history and the lore and the context surrounding Death by a Thousand Cuts and Lover in general, that I started to see that pieces from what I thought was the truth may not align the same way as we previously saw them. So stick with me, let's talk about it in this video. There's a lot to unpack here. If you are new to my channel, hi, I'm so glad that you found me. I make weekly videos about Taylor Swift lyrics and lore. We deep dive into the lyrics and the context surrounding them to understand more of the art behind it. I want to focus on Taylor Swift as the artist because that's what really makes her a mastermind. And if you're interested in that kind of thing and you want to dive into the art with me, I'd love it if you would subscribe. I started this video the way that I start every single one of my lyric deep dive videos. I immediately look to see if Taylor has said anything specific about the song that I'm talking about. For Death by a Thousand Cuts, there is a lot of stories online and articles and a podcast where it discusses the fact that Taylor Swift states that Death by a Thousand Cuts was inspired by a movie called Someone Great that was released in April of 2019. I watched this movie and I was fully prepared to make a video today about all the parallels between this movie and Death by a Thousand Cuts, and that's what we were going to talk about. But imagine my surprise when I dig into the context and I'm looking at dates and I'm looking at posts and I'm looking at all of these things and I'm just like, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense. So let's break it down. I am not saying that I know the truth in this matter at all. This is just my opinion. I'm just posting about dates and things that I'm finding on the internet and just saying this doesn't exactly add up. It's a little bit different than what I would expect, but I am just bringing it to you. I am just the messenger. I am saying all of this allegedly. Now, to talk about Lover, my first piece of evidence and what we're going to talk about today and the first piece in the timeline is on February 24th, 2019, Taylor posts this image on her Instagram page, which is a picture of 7 palm trees. We do not know it at the time, but later on, she would say in Entertainment on May 9th of 2019 that she posted this image the day that Lover had been completed recording. She told Entertainment that it is a very widely accepted fact that this was an Easter egg for the Lover album being completed. Specifically, she said, I posted that the day that I finished the 7th album. I couldn't expect my fans to know that. I figured they'd figure it out later, but a lot of their theories were actually correct. So we have confirmation, at least from Entertainment in this interview that she did with Entertainment at this time, that this image was posted intentionally because she had just completed what would be Lover. We just didn't know it yet. Remember, this is February 24th of 2019. Death by a Thousand Cuts is on this album at its release time. It's not like a late release or anything. Supposedly, this is when she completed Lover as an album. Great, which is a fantastic movie that I absolutely loved, and I do think that it holds all of the vibes and all of the feelings that Taylor was going for with Death by a Thousand Cuts, and I think that it's very fitting. But Someone Great still was released on April 19th of 2019. Months after this February 24th, 2019 Instagram post when Lover was supposedly completed. Not only that though, it then goes on the Ellen show on May 18th of 2019, and I'm not going to post a clip from it because I don't want it to be stricken or anything, but I will post a image of the part of the video that this is found in. But she goes on Ellen, and Ellen asks her what her favorite movie is, and essentially Taylor says something to the effect of, I have to go with my favorite movie I've seen in the last week, Someone Great on Netflix. It's a great movie. Watch it. So the Ellen show was released as of May 18th of 2019, a month after Someone Great was released on Netflix, but it was 3 months after Taylor had supposedly finished the Lover album based off of what she'd said to Entertainment. So, you see how these dates are kind of like, what? You see how it's like not like adding up? Of course, Someone Great's writer and director Jennifer Robinson sees that Taylor calls out Someone Great on Ellen. She emails her and thanks her for giving her movie a shout out, tells her that it was based off of her own personal real life breakup and that she really appreciated the shout out. Taylor then goes on the Elvis Duran show on August 23rd, 2019, which is when Lover actually officially came out. She came on that podcast that day and tells the story about how she mentioned Someone Great on Ellen and how the writer-director reached out to her and about how the writer-director mentioned that she was inspired by 1989's Clean while she was making the film. And this has been described by Taylor as a moment where she felt like Someone Great was something that inspired her, and then the writer-director was inspired by Clean, which was Taylor's work, so it was like this meta moment. How she explains it on the Elvis Duran show is she says that, I think that when people make art, other people make art, and especially women who make art, I find it highly inspiring. I watched this movie on Netflix called Someone Great. I cried while watching the movie. For about a week, I start waking up from dreams that I'm living out the scenario, that's happening to me. I'd have these lyrics in my head based on the dynamics of these characters, and I went into the studio with Jack Antonoff. That is how she describes Death by a Thousand Cuts being recorded on the Elvis Duran show. But if we remember that she also stated that on her Instagram page, the picture of the palm trees in February was when the Lover album was actually completed. A movie that came out in April couldn't have been part of that. And I have thought about the fact that she got an early, access copy of it or something like that. I've been a book reviewer for years, and I literally have, books in my possession right now that don't come out until June of 2025, and it is currently January. So I understand that advanced copies can be a thing, but then why would the director have been so surprised that Taylor had watched it? So it's an interesting thing. I am just throwing it out here that these dates don't necessarily add up, but having said that, I don't want to diminish and say that Someone Great did not inspire Taylor and give her the same emotions that she felt while writing Death by a Thousand Cuts. I think that is very true, but we have to remember the state of the world in 2019 for Taylor as well. She was releasing her first album after Reputation. She had gotten into the relationship with Joe Alwyn. If things were rocky, she didn't want to talk about it. So I bring this to you. I bring you these discrepancies on this dates and this time, and bring you this and say, is it possible that Death by a Thousand Cuts is a similar situation to Folklore and Evermore, where she says that something is fictional or based on something fictional, but it's kind of personal and we only find out about it later? And Death by a Thousand Cuts being about a movie also doesn't exactly fit the narrative that she gave Billboard when she was describing Lover, because in Billboard, the interview that she gave, she says, and I knew with Lover it was something that was almost a return to form in a lot of ways, in the way that I was just me as me singing about my life in the way that I actually experienced it, not through a filter of these extremes, Lover was the first time I've written about love that was very real, rather than a song like Love Story that I wrote when I was 17. She says, a lot of that was like stuff I saw on a movie, like Shakespeare, like stuff I read mixed in with some like crush stuff that had happened in my life. And so as a writer, you try to expand moments. You try to take a micro emotion or a feeling you had for 2 minutes in the day, and you take that and you zoom into it and you try to explore it. She specifically states here that Lover is not like the songs that she wrote when she was younger that were based on films or based off of movies. She says that it is a return to form to writing about herself. So before we examine it, I just wanted to lay the land, give you guys the context surrounding this, and give you where I am thinking with my headspace. I think that Someone Great is an amazing movie. I think that you all should watch it, and I think that it does give the exact vibes that Taylor was feeling when she wrote the song. Do I think that it is the only contributing piece to this work of art? I absolutely do not. That is just my opinion. Allegedly, all of this is alleged. I am just going based off of dates and things on the internet and putting pieces together, and now we're going to read lyrical tea leaves to see how much deeper it goes. So Death by a Thousand Cuts itself has been a term that's been used classically throughout warfare and torture to represent a type of torture where you are literally harming someone through 1,000 cuts. We know that Taylor likes to use wordplay and likes to change the meanings of words throughout her songs. It's something commonly that she likes to do to terms and phrases. So Death by a Thousand Cuts for her, instead of being a physical death, is showcasing the emotional death of having a death by 1,000 cuts. And she showcases this emotional death through the viewpoint of a relationship, through viewing a relationship as a thing of something from the past and viewing it from an outsider looking in and seeing the death by 1,000 cuts that she herself has been going through. When we open up the song, the intro to it is just the word my repeated 32 times. So I am not a number person when it comes to lore. If it's not a number 13, I don't really know what to make of it. So if anyone wants to make something of the fact that she says my 32 times, have at it. I am a poet. I am not a numerologist. So there it is. a poetry perspective, I think that the fact that she says my so many times is focusing on the point that she is seeing this from her perspective and she is alone now. This is not a situation where she has anything with another person. She is focusing on how herself is feeling and the fact that she is alone. And I think that is harmful and that is sad for her. And we see that throughout the song repeated over and over and over again, because she is reflecting on her body, her things, and it's not something that she shares with anybody else. So when this starts up, we have 32 times that she says my, but then she starts off with actually what becomes the chorus with saying goodbye is death by 1,000 cuts, flashbacks waking me up. Flashbacks waking me up. This imagery is very similar to what I found in Maroon that we see later on in Midnights, where she says, I wake with your memory over me. That's a real legacy to leave. But here it's flashbacks waking me up. I think that that's very interesting. I'm not saying that this is any way, shape, or form related to Maddie, but I think that this is similar imagery that we're seeing throughout different discography, throughout different albums, and throughout different songs. So I found it interesting and I wanted to point it out. My opinion, reading the lyrical tea leaves that I do throughout the song, I actually get the feeling that this is more so about the relationship that she has with Joe. There are some moments where I think it's possible that this could be more of a distant relationship, but I also just want to point out that we don't really know everything that happened with her relationship with Joe. There was a person who told People that they were on and off again throughout their relationship. So if that is the case, if Taylor did have moments where her and Joe had effectively broken up, and we even see that mentioned in other songs like The Great War, I really thought I lost you, I think that this could apply to one of those songs, and we just don't know about that. So when we're looking at like a past relationship, I don't think it necessarily means that it can't be Joe, because I think there is evidence that supports the fact that there were times throughout her relationship with Joe that she did think that they broke up, but she's not going to go and publicly say that her and Joe broke up if it happened like on a Saturday on Monday. Like, no, like this is a publicity thing. This is a celebrity fame thing. Like, she can't just go and announce this to the world, and she wouldn't want to, because they could come back together. So I view this song as coming from one of those moments, like where you really think that your lover house has been boarded up, that this thing that you thought that you had finally had is not. And I think that that is where we see here. So let's continue. Saying goodbye is death by 1,000 cuts, flashbacks waking me up. I get drunk, but it's not enough. Because the morning comes and you're not my baby. I think that we see this use of her just like trying to live through life, right? Like, she gets drunk, she physically impairs herself to try to get through the day. And I think that that's important here, because that is such a relatable thing to do. Also, whenever you are going through heartache, I do not recommend, but it is a very relatable thing to try to get drunk just to not think about something when you are going through heartache. Morning comes and you're not my baby. I could see people read this as being Maddie coded, because it looks like it is going through to the past. But again, I think that it is very possible that this was Joe, and for Taylor at this time, because remember, we do not know everything, really did feel like she had lost him. I look through the windows of this love, even though we boarded them up. I look through the windows of this love, even though we boarded them up. And this, I just want to showcase the lover house, okay? And I just want to talk about the imagery that she portrays with the lover house, with the Lover music video, because she also states that she wanted to showcase Lover as having all of the different types of love, right? Like, even in its chaotic, messy, tragic parts of love. So when we look at the Lover music video, this Lover house is like the fantasy of like a child, you know? It's like what you envision as being your perfect love is in this Lover house. So when she is saying, I look through the windows of this love even though we boarded them up, I'm starting to believe that the house itself is a representation of love. And that also is very interesting for me, because, you know, I have my own theories about every time she says town, like you were my town. There are mentions to country later on in the song, and I think that this could be like a Lover house, like this perfect, picturesque little idyllic love nest that you have in your perfect small town, which is what you have with another person. I just think that it's kind of like this beautiful imagery for having something that you cohabitate with somebody else, and that's what we see throughout the Lover music video. So that is really the imagery that I'm seeing here. And I love the fact that she is talking about love being vacant from this house, and she is literally peering in through the windows, even though they vacated and they left. Every relationship that we have with anybody is only shared with you and that other person. So you do only have what you share together because you only are conscious of that. I mean, you're not going to know what kind of relationship they have with somebody else because you're not a part of that. So I think all of that is interesting to think about. And this song, I just think, has a lot of depth to it that is sometimes missed because it is on Lover. And I just think that it's very important, and we see a lot of emotional depth here. Next line, chandelier is still flickering here because I can't pretend it's okay when it's not.
Chandelier still flickering here because I can't pretend it's okay when it's not.
It's death by 1,000 cuts. And do you know what that chandelier still flickering here gives me imagery of, that we have talked about in a few song deep dives now, is this imagery of the light being left on, right? The lamp. In Peter, she says, I will not confess that I waited, but I let the lamp burn. And here we see the chandelier is still flickering here because that is also a light that she has left on. So she is saying that the love itself is not dead. The chandelier is still flickering. She can't pretend that it's okay when it's not. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And that is that emotional turmoil, that tragic part of love that leaves us so heartbroken, because what happens when you are in love with somebody else, but you can't express that? And your house that you share together, the thing, the love beacon that you have on this hill that you've envisioned and dreamed of your entire life, is boarded up. You know, you just end up with a chandelier that's flickering a light that you are, you know, I think that imagery is very beautiful, and I just love it. I'm just obsessed. Also, of course, wanted to say that Death by 1,000 Cuts itself kind of also gives us imagery of red, because a cut itself, I think, would be red. So when we say that loving him is red, I think that you could have a part of that for Death by 1,000 Cuts too, because the love itself is what is killing you in this imagery that she is using. And the love house being boarded up, all of that imagery is what is killing her. I think that that's also very interesting. Then we get our next verse with, I dress to kill my time. I take the long way home. I ask the traffic lights if it'll be all right. They say, I don't know.
I ask the traffic lights if it'll be all right. They say, I don't know.
And this first part of the stanza with, I dress to kill my time, I think that she is using a double entendre to point out being dressed to kill and killing time. So she is literally dressing herself theoretically to kill, not actually like to kill somebody, but like, you know, she's looking great. She's dressing to kill, but then she is also wasting her time, because the only thing that she has to do, because she is lacking that other person in her life, is just get ready. It's like she is just wasting her time. She doesn't have anything else going on, and she is just heartbroken and heartsick from it. She asks the traffic lights if it'll be all right on her way home. They say, I don't know. And I think this is also interesting, because this is also that light imagery that we have, you know, that we have seen repeatedly throughout the discography. It just keeps getting more and more as we get closer to the Tortured Poets department. But also, traffic lights tell you what to do. They tell you whether you should stop, whether you should go, you know. So I think that it's very interesting that she's asking the traffic lights, who their only job is to tell you whether to stop or go, what to do, and they don't know. And I just think that that also is a very interesting imagery. It's like you're just driving aimlessly and you don't know what choices to make. And I also find that that is very relatable. How many people have gone out driving when they are thinking over things or thinking over choices in their life, and they're just driving and not even paying attention, but only going, you know, stoplights showing you red or green, whether you should go or stop. Taylor Swift's exact quote for what she stated Lover was, is a love letter to love in all of its maddening, passionate, exciting, enchanting, horrific, tragic, wonderful glory. And I think that that includes this theoretical breakup song with Death by 1,000 Cuts, and we see it. And I think that part of what makes Taylor so people's favorite artist is just the fact that she is so relatable with her lyrics and what she says. I mean, just the fact that she is describing traffic lights, you know, telling her the way home in her music. I mean, that itself is relatable. What once was ours is no one's now. I see you everywhere. The only thing we share is this small town.
I see you everywhere. The only thing we share is this small town.
And I never let a town mention go unnoticed, because I do think that when she is talking about a small town or, you know, being downtown, things like that, that she is talking about like an emotional element with it as well, and not just like a location. I do think it is very possible that these two people did live in a small town together, theoretically maybe London, but also just like the relationship that they have together is what they know, and like that is something that you would be living in too. So I think that that's also pointing out that the only thing that they have together is like their memories now, and that also is painful. I see you everywhere, the only thing we share is this small town. It's like the only thing we share are these memories and these moments that we have that she is longing for. And if we talk about the Someone Great movie, we see that all over that movie, because Someone Great is about a writer who has been with her significant other at the point in the movie for 9 years. He's a good guy. It's just her career has continued to progress and progress and progress until at the beginning of the movie, she gets a offer for a job with Rolling Stone and she has to move across the country, and he is not really willing to do that with her. And that is like the point of the entire movie, is that these two people who love each other, who have had a great relationship, ultimately are just not going to work out. And I think that it's very interesting that she is pointing out that movie to describe the emotions that she was feeling during this moment, because now, looking in hindsight from 2025 now, back on this, I think that we can see pieces of her with Joe through that story, at least from what we know of it. Because if we look back on 2019 for Taylor, even when I think about what she was going to do around the time for Lover, like she wasn't really going to be touring. She was just going to do like Lover Fest, which I think was like 8 shows total, remember? I mean, it was very different. Like if you look at 2023, 2024 Taylor versus 2019, 2018 Taylor, like it's just worlds apart, the activity and the things that she was doing. So all of that is interesting, throwing it out there. What do you guys think? You said it was a great love, one for the ages. But if the story's over, why am I still writing pages? And I think that is my favorite line from this song, because I have been there so many times throughout my life where I just can't give something up and I'm just wondering like, why can't I leave it? Another very relatable turn of phrase from Taylor. If the story's over, why am I still writing pages? And that's just clinging on to that hope that the relationship, that the Lover house, that the town that you share with somebody else is not completely over. Because saying goodbye is death by 1,000 cuts. Flashbacks waking me up. I get drunk, but it's not enough because the morning comes and you're not my baby. We get back to the chorus here where she's looking through the windows of this love, even though they boarded them up. The chandelier is still flickering here because I can't pretend it's okay when it's not. And I just love the repetition also throughout Death by 1,000 Cuts, because I think that she is really purposeful in the terms and the words that she's saying. And there are throwbacks to other songs, especially when we get to the bridge here. And remember the 32 my's from the intro that we have. I think that we kind of understand more of why there were so many my's for the intro when we get to the bridge, because the bridge, she's focusing on herself with my heart, my hips, my body, my love. She's
My heart, my hips, my body, my love.
She's focusing on all of these things about herself that are hers, that she's trying to find a part of me that you didn't touch. So she's focusing on all of these things about herself, trying to separate her from him, but she's finding it hard to do because he's touched every part of her, because he lived in her Lover house, because they shared a small town together, and it's inextricably combined now. And I think that that is the feeling here, because saying goodbye is like death by 1,000 cuts, because it's unexpected, even the things that are going to cut you. It's as simple as opening a drawer and seeing that somebody else's items that they've left there are still there, which we see reflected in Tortured Poets department later. So all of this is interesting. I understand why she would not want us to think that she wrote this while she was with Joe. I'm gonna find a part of me that you didn't touch, gave up on me like I was a bad drug. Now I'm searching for signs in a haunted club.
Gave up on me like I was a bad drug.
There are quite a few people who also think that this song could be about Maddie Healy, and I'm not saying that it might not be. Gave up on me like I was a bad drug. Whenever a drug is mentioned, I always think, could Maddie be involved in this? And it's 100% possible. I also think that Taylor is kind of the queen of the composite sketch with things. You will feel, the same emotion for multiple different partners in your life. So I think that this could also be kind of like a composite of multiple relationships. She I do not think at this point though was like actively wondering so much about if she had missed out on something with Maddie, because I think she was still holding on to the relationship with Joe. And this part of the bridge is why I really think that this song is more focused on Joe than anybody else in any other relationship that she had at the time. And of course, this is just my opinion. Once again, we are reading lyrical tea leaves. I don't know anything. I am just a English major who loves context clues. that is me. But so she continues with, after now I'm searching for signs in a haunted club, which also throwback to Haunted, of course. Our song, as she says, our songs, our films, united we stand.
Our songs, our films, united we stand.
Our songs is her. Our films is him, because he's an actor. So I think that by her saying our songs, our films, united we stand, she is saying like, look, we're in this together. I don't think about my music just being mine. I don't think about your work just being yours. I want to support you. I want you to support me. I want us in this together. United we stand. Our country, not just a small town, not just a lover house, but our country. That is how important this was to her. Our country, guess it was a lawless land.
Our country, guess it was a lawless land.
Because something broke. Whether he broke a law, whether she broke a law, something within that relationship broke. So now guess it was a lawless land. Quiet my fears with the touch of your hand. Paper cut stings from my paper thin plans.
Cut stings from a paper thin plan.
This also feels like a throwback to Paper Rings, which we also theorizes about Joe Allen, where she says, I like shiny things, but I'd marry you with paper rings. But now it's paper cut stings from our paper thin plans, which I think is very interesting. They just can't get it together. And I think that's what she's trying to say. My time, my wine, my spirit, my trust, trying to find a part of me that you didn't take up, gave you too much, but it wasn't enough. But I'll be all right. It's just 1,000 cuts. And I just love the bridge of the song. I love the song in general, but I think there is so much here that points to it being specifically about her and their relationship that I see it as inextricably combined. And I understand why she said that someone great, gives the same emotions as this, because I agree 100% it does. And you would just be thinking about this and this relationship that you want to work that isn't going to work. But I see a lot of personal things here. So in my headcanon, I think that she just didn't want to tell us that something else had happened with Joe. Whatever that was, I have no idea. I have no idea what happened in their relationship, of course, and I'm not going to, theorize about anything. I want to respect Taylor completely. I want to read the lyrics. I want to look at the art. That's what I want to do. But unfortunately, the context and the lore surrounding it is important for us to understand. But that is what I see with this. And what do you guys think? Who do you think this points to? I want to dive into other songs on Lover, because whenever I am examining a song on an album, I also listen more to that album, because I think every album is its own era and has its own things that she's wanting us to, to hear and experience. With Lover, songs that I would really like to look at are Afterglow. I would love to look at Daylight. I think that other songs like that and The Great War will really help us to understand kind of what happened with this and better understand what she's saying with the art that she gives us during this time period. But she continues here with the chorus, I get drunk, but it's not enough, because you're not my baby. And again, she is repeating this sadness of, wanting to not exist in her own headspace by getting drunk, by looking through the windows of this house, theoretically this lover house that they boarded up with the chandelier still flickering, because she is not willing to give up the hope that the love is still there. The post-chorus here is trying to find a part of me that you didn't touch. And she repeats again, my body, my love, my trust, which I do think is interesting that my trust is such a significant part of this song. Makes me feel like some type of trust, whether it be hers or his, was broken. But again, what it was, we have no idea. We are just reading context clues and literary tea leaves. That is all that I know how to do. She ends it with the outro with, I take the long way home. I ask the traffic lights if it'll be all right. They say, I don't know.
I don't know.
And again, I just think it's almost unsettling that she ends it with this moment where she is asking the traffic lights again if it'll be all right. And just the stillness with I don't know. always has kind of thrown me off a little bit. I mean, I absolutely love it, but it kind of leaves me feeling unsettled. And I think that that is the point, because this is, at its core, a breakup song. This song in general is another example of how she is so good at showing us things and not just telling us emotions that she's having. This entire song, she is giving us glimpses and moments of peering in through boarded up windows, of driving around town, ask traffic lights to give you life choices. And I just think all of that is incredibly relatable. It gives us a picture of a person who is unsure, who is not sure what to do, who is heartbroken, who is sad because she is in love with someone who is good and she just wants to make it work. And I think that that is what we see here in this song. And I think it's very interesting. I have a lot of questions about what happened with her and Joe, but of course, you know, we do not have to know everything. This is just a glimpse, and I would love to hear what you guys think. Ultimately, when we look at Death by a Thousand Cuts in the framework of the lore, I want to say that I see this song as a point of time where Taylor was heartbroken and her relationship with Joe was not going as well as maybe the public knew at the time period. Of course, this is alleged, this is all my opinion. I'm just reading lyrical tea leaves, but what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this song reflects more of a Joe? This song reflects more of Joe? Do you think it's Maddie? Do you think that it is about someone great? And am I missing something with my timeline? What do you guys think? I would love to hear your opinion. Also, let me know if there's any other songs or anything that you would like to review. Next week, we will be doing I Look in People's Windows, so get excited about that. And I also would like to do a timeline video. We will see if we can get both of those knocked out next week, but let me know what you guys want to see down below. If you are into deep dives on Taylor Swift lyrics and lore, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot, and it really helps the channel, and I would love to be able to talk about this with more people because I just find it incredibly fascinating, and I think that Taylor Swift really is an artist, and I would like to broadcast more of the art that she does because I think that her writing at the end of the day is what makes her a mastermind, and I want to talk about it. So let me know what you guys want to see down below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.